Hello and welcome to 9-Inch Charge. Welcome to Madness. Today we are going to talk about orcs and goblins. Tom is specifically going to talk about orc and goblin society. So wish him luck as we delve into the lore. So the first thing, as always, I want to talk about is the timeline. Where do the orcs and goblins fit in the time of where the game The Old World is set and what is going on for them? And what is most interesting about this really is how much is not explored. So when you read the books and you read the timeline that we've been given from the orc perspective, it is all about the invasion of Tilia. And the invasion of Tilia is about a 500 or 600 year event. It might even be longer. I think it's even longer than that. It's about, let's say it's 600 years. There's more than just the invasion of Tilia going on in those 600 years, because we know that Lorn Orcslayer is fighting his campaign against the orcs. We know they end up being rid from there and go into Athel Loren, and then they fight the Wood Elves. We know from the previous episode that we did about the dwarf lore that they're fighting the dwarves in the World's Edge Mountains as well. But the main thing that is going on, and the main thing that is documented in this time, as I said, is the invasion of Tilia, which is an absolutely brilliant story. So the orcs decide, and goblins decide, that they're going to invade Tilia, and they amass their force right on the edge of the country. And the Tilian leaders and the generals send out a scouting party, and they're just like, well, what are you going to do, basically? You know, the biggest big warg has just turned up on your doorstep, and there's nothing that's going to stop you from just getting like crimped into oblivion. But one of the things that they notice is that they're not disciplined ranks, as we know, and lots of infighting keeps breaking out, and they notice the animosity that is between all orcs and goblins. And that is actually only quelled by the warlords, and that they are pretty much content fighting each other as they are fighting anybody else. So the Tilians then hatch a plan. What they decide to do is to hire half of the orc army to fight the other half of the orc army. And the orcs, of course, they're always up for a scrap. They think, brilliant, you know, the army's just there, we're assembled, we're ready to go. So they go and fight, and they have this massive scrap. And the way that they fund it is all the plunder, basically, that they get from defeating the other army, they get to keep. And that's how they fund it. And that is the start, really, of the Dogs of War, because the Tilians, whichever orcs survived, Tilian generals would then go out with the warlords and go and fight elsewhere. And the Tilians became used then and accustomed to using mercenary forces, observing and collecting mercenary forces, and became famous for them the world over. I think it's just brilliant, this story, because what it does is it really captures the essence of what it is like to be an orc or a goblin. You turn up for a fight, you don't mind who you fight. You're going to be picking a fight with your neighbor, or the person next to you looks at you funny or whatever, you know, as if they barge into you accidentally, your shields clatter, and then that's it. Just madness and mayhem has ensued. And, you know, if it isn't for the war bosses that are able to quell that and focus, you know, the force, it's like that saying, isn't it, that I can't quite remember, but, you know, the orcs are the most lethal and the most dangerous fighting force on the face of the old world. They're like the Juggernaut from X-Men. They're just going to run at you and plow through you, and there's going to be absolutely no stopping them. The only thing that is stopping them is themselves. Yeah, 100%. And I just think that's brilliant. But as I said, for a whole episode on orc and goblin lore, in terms of the history and the narrative, that's all that we know for this time. So it's all wide open, really, and lots potential there for Games Workshop to grab a hold of and then be like, because we don't know who all the war bosses are, who the leaders are. We don't know the ins and outs of the details of the fighting with an Orc Slayer against the dwarves, and we don't. And there are, remember, of course, there are orcs and goblins all over the old world. So great potential there. Really, it's where we did the dwarf episode, and we were like, here are the battles where they helped the Empire. Here are the, this is the giant that the Slayers killed. This is the new train that they built. We knew all the specifics. There are no specifics, but this is probably because the written form is not something that the orcs excel at.
No,
most of their history is recorded by just the fires and absolute carnage and mayhem and cities and empires that are lowered in the wake of them. And anything that is recorded by a goblin who are the more intelligent of the greenskin varieties is kind of just probably written in absolute gibberish and unintelligible. I mean, these are a race of people that just take mushrooms all day long and speak to the moon and do, do all sorts of crazy lunatic stuff. So that's kind of where we are with the lore there. I do want to touch a bit on, I think we wanted to try and talk about society, if you could call it that.
Yeah, very loose term, I think, society. As Dan said, orcs, the big brutes of the old world. They're as tougher, stronger, bigger than any man that walks the plane. And it's not just one or two of them, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And what happens when you put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of anything that loves a good old scrap next to each other? They're gonna scrap. So you form a clan, you go out scrapping. And the Greenskin tribes, they're made up of various different greenskins. So you have goblins. I'll start with the small stuff that doesn't do too much, because they're not the most key. You have your goblins, normal goblins, your forest goblins. They live in a forest.
Oh,
they ride spiders.
I forgot about the forest goblins, because they've kind of, Games Workshop has done away with them, and they favour the night goblins now in the range. But the forest goblins had a really cool range.
They did. Lovely spider riders and other bits and bobs. You have your night goblins, which is everybody's favourite, fanatics. Everything's poisoned. You're fighting in tunnels. You get on some really interesting ones. Noblars are a subspecies of goblin. They primarily found in the ogre tribes. Hobgoblins, as we spoke about a few videos ago, one of the biggest orc clans. The hobgoblins, so they're everywhere in this timeline. Hopefully, we'll see some more of them.
We said that we might expect to see them as a separate entity to the orcs and goblins that we know, because they're kind of seen, just touching on, if you've seen the previous video, apologies, but just touching on that, they are kind of seen as turncoats and splitters, and they have alliances not with other orcs and goblins, but with the chaos dwarves. So they actually are a very separate faction of orcs and goblins.
You have, this is a new one I found about today, a goblin fire kobold. Goblins that spit fire. Why isn't that in the book? Oh, I want to see some of these. And goblin troglodytes.
Troglodytes.
Troglogobs.
Oh, troglogobs.
It's a very unique Games Workshop naming. Aquatic goblins.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
These are all your brutal and cunning, intelligent. None of them are very intelligent. They just have really crazy ideas that just work somehow.
But what's funny about them is that they have the crazy ideas, and you're right, they're not physically strong, but they're very good. They are powerful. They're brilliant at using magic, and it's just, like we said, just mayhem. I love it. Absolutely love it. You would make someone that crazy and that kind of, they are cunning and they are sneaky and they are clever in a way, but also absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And when you amplify that with the power of magic, You just know it's a
Yeah,
recipe for disaster, isn't it?
it's a real recipe for disaster. Moving on to the bigger bads, you've got your common orcs every day. You're hardworking. Interestingly, they were taught to forge by the Chaos Dwarfs, which is another thing I didn't find out until today. So they're taught to forge their choppers and they very basic kind of iron work by the Chaos Dwarfs. You have savage orc clans live in deep forests and jungles. Anywhere you see a deep forest and jungle, effectively savage orcs lying around. Weapons primarily made from bones, stone, and wood. And then you have the black orcs, your disciplined rank of any orc and goblin fighting force. And yeah, these guys, all of them together, not all of them all together at the same time, but there are cases where they all kind of like mingle in and make massive orc tribes. They love fighting. Can't be stressed enough to say an orc loves to fight. And yeah, even the biggest bats, your grim bad Ironclaw, struggle to keep these guys in line, struggle to keep them, toeing the line a bit.
Yeah. And the savage orcs. Don't forget the savage orcs.
I did say the savage orcs.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
It. The
they were my favourite on the tabletop.
I just love the massive spear. What was the massive spear?
The spear
that they would run down.
The big stabber.
Yeah. I used to love the imagery of that.
Yeah. So what does society in an orc tribe look like? Well, countless tribes everywhere. Everyone wants to be a warlord. It's the perfect society to do it in an orc society, isn't it? If you're bigger than the guy next to you, you tell that guy what to do, and that's how it works until you find someone bigger than you. And what tends to happen is these warlords, they stay in power until they get crimped in a battle by someone, and then the next guy who's just a little bit smaller comes along. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna have you now. You're injured. Come on then, let's fight it out. And they fight it. They exchange leadership. It happens all the time. There's rarely leaders in an orc clan go too long. They always get killed by someone. Got to prove you're the biggest, the baddest, and the bravest. The only way you do that is from the front. It's brutal. It's day by day brutal. You're fighting someone. If you're not fighting someone, if no one's giving you a coin to fighting somebody. And it's not. It is always pretty much life or death. You don't care if your friend lives. They worship two main gods in Orc society. You have Gork, which is cunning and brutal, and Mork, who's brutally cunning. So you never know who's brutal and cunning and who's cunningly brutal. It's so mixed up now that you don't know.
What I know about them for sure is that one of them has feet and one of them has hands.
One of them's got a foot, one of them's got a big old hand. Yeah.
So Gork is the primary deity of clobbering, smashing, breaking, killing, and pummeling the rest of the world into submission. This is a notion that resonates strongly with the more warlike and highly volatile orc subspecies, where their single-mindedness for violence and brutality often outshines their otherwise low cunning. But Mork is the patron deity of cunning and shamans. And where Gork is most likely to clobber the enemy in the face, Mork will happily wait until its back is turned before raising his club and belting him around the back of the head. It's Mork who's revered by more prominently by the goblins and by the night goblins, and especially the shamans. But they do wield the magic of Gork as well, as we said. Mork tends to have a hand and will move units around the battlefield and be sneaky, whereas Gork's foot will just rain down and stomp something. The other thing I found while I was doing this, which I thought was just a bit of fun, was I found an orc dictionary. And we have different phrases and different things for the different races. So skeletons, tomb kings, and undead are just referred to as bonies collectively. Bonies, vampires, blood drinkers. or they got elves down here. Pointy ears.
Pointy
Ratties are the Skavens. Scalies are the lizard men. Spikies are the warriors of chaos. Stunties are the dwarves.
Well,
And they've got all kind of things that we know. You know, catapults or throwers are called chuckers. Melee weapons are called choppers. Goblins are called gobbos. And of course, we all know who the humies are. Yeah, I thought that was fun to read. There was another one as well that was like more unrecognizable terms, like actual words in their own language. But these ones that are kind of in between, I really like the idea of it. And I like as well that the last one on there is the plural, and that's just you put a Z on the end of anything, and then it becomes plural.
Yeah.
Oh, and Zog. Zog was the swear word. So if anything happens, you're like, yeah.
Zoganek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
When your shaman accidentally casts you on fire or something, that's when you.
Yeah. Oh, sock. But the Gork comes back and stomps you.
Yeah, well, maybe Gork's mispleased or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, they've done such a fantastic job with that lore, haven't they? They've got a mindless killing machine breed of mushroom people.
No, they're only mushroom people in the 40k universe.
Well, they're still made of spores, aren't they?
No,
Mostly
I don't
spores. I think they are. Yeah.
Let us know in the comments, because I'm not convinced. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Would get the book out. But yeah. they have that kind of like the exact opposite going on all the time. People swinging massive balls around and like everything's a chucker, silly names for stuff, silliness happening all the time. That's why
I really liked the unpredictability on the battlefield. Like we talked in the previous episode about your animosity and how you could have a unit just run off halfway down the battlefield and charge off and cause absolute bloody murder and mayhem, and like you'd be right in the enemy's lines before they even knew it, or they could just do nothing and fight each other. And I really liked that, and I think you have to be in that kind of zone. I mean, for me, I used to play a very competitive game of Warhammer, and that's why I laugh in there. But that's why I like my elves, because if you tell an elf to do something, he's just going to do that 100% and follow it through. Whereas if you tell an orc army to do it, you don't know what's going to happen. And I do miss seeing that on the tabletop. I do really miss that unpredictability played out on the game, and it just made the game really fun. I know we're supposed to be talking about lore, but I do miss that. And from a lore perspective, I don't know. Like I said, there seems to they're always having a fight with everyone all the time. So it's up to Games Workshop to say what they want to do, because we know at the moment they're fighting the Bretonnians, they're fighting the Wood Elves, they're fighting the Dwarves, and they're fighting the Tillians. We know that, but we don't know what else they're doing. And I rather than say what I would like to see, I would just like to be happily surprised with something non-specific.
That's it, isn't it? Like there are. Or if you've got a population of anything, there's going to be orcs near it. So
if you've got a forest or a mountain, that's it, isn't it?
Orc territory is everywhere. So that's it. You can just do whatever you want to just have fun. You can do some really serious campaigns, a little bit of fun, silliness going on. I don't know. You just, have fun with it. Do whatever. They did some really cool stuff for him in the end times, didn't they? Where I think Grimbad did some really cool stuff. He became like the incarnate of Beast or something like that.
Oh yeah, because he had a fight with Orion, as I remember.
Yeah.
So because of course the god of the hunt would want to fight the incarnate of beasts, of course. But I think the God of Beasts won that one, actually, unfortunately. But yeah, let us know. Let us know what your favourite part of Orc and Goblin lore is. Let us know what you would like to see from them coming back. And I think that is everything for this episode. We're going to be back again, and we're going to talk about the Horus Heresy release, actually, and what we can learn about when Games Workshop brings back an old style game, looking at old editions of stuff, and what can we learn and what can we glean from that. So watch this space. That will come probably in a couple of weeks, all being well. And until then, enjoy getting stuck in the ruck. And we will see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you think. I do read every single comment. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like, and if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you'd like to take the conversation even further, you can join the 9 Inch Charge Hobby Hangout group on Facebook. This is a place for us to come together as a community and encourage each other and chat about our hobby, and feel free to share your models, thoughts, ideas, or ask any questions that you may have. There's a link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can find a link in the description to our Patreon page, or you could become a YouTube member. And you can also support the channel by using the affiliate link we have to Element Games. They have a really extensive hobby range. I'm sure you can find anything that you're looking for on there. And they also sell it at a discount to Games Workshop. And if you use the affiliate link, we get a small amount of commission back that we can use to put back into the channel. As ever, this has been 9 Inch Charge. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.